Okay, so now I'm actually up and running again now. Got the OBS WebSocket server working. So my captioning should kick in a sec here. If it would help if I clicked start captioning. Okay, cool. And if for folks who are wondering, I think this is what you use too, Steph, if you're still around here, is I use something called webcaptioner.com, and it's pretty handy. So there you go. And yeah, my captionings are being picked up, so my stream should pick it up in a second. There's a little delay usually, but that's all good. I'll check in a sec. Hey, how's it going, Becca? Long time no see. Yeah. Okay, it's saying it's there. Really? It's not doing it now. Start. Yes. Update channel. Start. Cool. Yeah, there it's captioning now. Why did it stop before? All right. There we go. We have captioning now. Okay. So I should see my captioning happening now. Yes. Hello. Testing. Yeah. It's on. It's not doing it yet, but cool. So, anyways, like I was telling Becca before, because I was on a stream with her, streaming does not stress me out at all. It's making sure that everything is working, basically. So that includes closed captioning, which I see is working now, and just audio in general. So, anyways, if you are curious about streaming, though, I will drop a link. And like I was saying, I was on a stream with Becca just before for the whatchamacallit, Deepgram's Hackathon for they got this cool thing going on right now. So using their SDK to build something cool. But if you are interested in streaming, yes, the struggle stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have anything too super exciting going on today, but I was thinking of I was gonna start working on something for the Deepgram Hackathon. So here's the hackathon for folks if they're interested. So the idea I had was, I mean, there's many things you can do, but I thought one practical one is like you go to create a post and I create a browser extension where you can just say, you know, create new post or create new dev post. It navigates to here, dev.to slash new. And then I could say like title as a command, and then I could like dictate what my title is, my tags, etc. And then, writing my content. It doesn't sound that complicated, but I've never done anything with speech APIs, so it could get potentially not, well, I'm sure there'll be difficulty to it, but nothing like impossible. It's just, my head might hurt for a second is all. But the way I was thinking about doing it is it'd be a browser extension. I think I'll keep it simple. Just go with parcel with an index.html file and a JS file just to kind of kickstart things. So that'll all bundle. For folks who've never done any kind of browser extension web development, it's essentially, there's a good guide in the Google Chrome developers guide here. If I go to create browser extension Chrome, and yeah, getting started Chrome developers. Yeah, okay, this is pretty much it, is it? Yeah, storage. Let me zoom this in a bit just to make it easier for folks to read it. And it would help if I switch to the coding view because I've been talking and not showing a screen or anything. So yeah, so if you go to the developer.chrome.com, I'll drop this in the chat. Bum, bum, bum. So if you've never built an extension before, there's a few good things nowadays. It used to be a lot more difficult to write an extension for Chrome or any Chromium based browser, like for example, Microsoft Edge, which I'm in right now, and Firefox and Safari. Firefox pretty much adopted the Google Chrome browser extension API. I think there might be some differences still, but essentially you can do the same thing in write the same code. And if I go to my GitHub for a sec, just go to my profile. I'm not trying to show off my profile here. It's just it's the quickest way for me to get to this link. So I wrote a browser extension called Ali Twitter, and what it does is it allows you to, I can actually show it in action. This will only work on desktop or laptop right now, but if I go to Twitter and then I say I want to add an image, and of course I'm not going to have any images here. Okay, I don't know what this is. Okay, it's just a screenshot. Why can't I add that image? Okay, whatever. I'm just going to take a screenshot. I'll just use clean shot here. Okay. Here we go. I'll just literally take this from Sunil's tweet and I'm gonna copy that and I'm gonna paste an image in here. And I'm just gonna say test. Hopefully my browser extension is still working. But what happens here is when I tweet, oh, of course, my browser extension no longer works. Ah, what's going on? Or maybe, oh, I haven't installed it. That's why. Let me install it. Hold on a sec. So I'm gonna install the Chrome extension, which will work for, no, it's there. Okay. I think the Twitter API, Twitter app changed or something, so I'm gonna have to look at fixing that. But the main point of this is you can write the browser extension for both Firefox and Chrome or Chromium based, and it's essentially the same code. Let me go back to that. Nikki Ali Twitter. I do have a point to this. Okay, so I have a bit of a build set up where I copy some things, but essentially the things you need are, if you want to keep it to a bare minimum, you can just have a script, and this script will run whenever you're in a browser and the extension's enabled. But there's things you can constrain. So if I come back up here to browsers, and I'll just go into Edge for now. It's the same as Chrome, I believe, but okay. The main thing here that's important is this manifest file. And you can see in here that the content script, which was that JS file I just had open a second ago, it can only run on twitter.com. And you want to have stuff like that potentially, depending on what your extension does, because it actually loads this JavaScript on top of other code that's running on your site. So if you've never written a browser extension or understand how they work, your actual page will load. There's different places where the browser extension can actually run. So I'll zoom this in a bit more, but mine is running when the document is idle, meaning as soon as nothing's going on the page, my thing will kick in. But there's other things you can do. You could say, I want to run it before the page or like right after. So there's different ways you can target when it runs. And then there's a few other things in here. These are just the icon and stuff. You can add other stuff, but you can also have, like if we come to the Chrome getting started, so there's the manifest, like I said. There's this new thing, the manifest version, if you see on mine, it says version 2. It's going to have to get upgraded to version 3. I can't remember the reasons why. There's a change. I think it's related to security. But anyways, that's kind of like the minimal thing is you create this manifest and then you can just have a few basic things. So a background script is something else. I won't talk about that right now. You can read about it on the getting started. But you can have, if I go down here, you can have a user interface. So you can have like, it can just be like an index.html file. and this can pop up. So like if I click on one of mine here, so like the refine GitHub extension. Why is nothing clicking for me properly today? I'm on vacation, I guess. All right, so for example, like when I click on Add Block Plus here, there's this pop-up that comes out. That's an HTML file that you can add to your extension, and it can, if you call it popup.html, it will run as the pop-up. So there's this other property in the manifest. Well, we can build this out quickly, I think, if we want after. And there's everything there. Hey, what's going on, Anthony? Yeah, so you can build a bare bones extension, and I think it'll probably be good if we do that just to show kind of like the whole mechanics. So what I'm gonna do is let's go to VS Code. Do, do, do. Okay, so let's create a new project. So let's go to my CD dev folder. We'll say make dir Deepgram extension. I know you're just tuning in, Anthony. So I'm looking at working on a hackathon project for the Deepgram hackathon. So I was thinking of doing a browser extension where it allows you to dictate creating a blog post on dev, kind of meta. Yeah, I haven't announced it on the stream I was on before. I haven't said it on Twitter because I thought it would just be more fun on my actual day. But since y'all are here, yeah, I'm gonna be working at Net. I'm joining the team. Yeah, I just don't care anymore now. I was like, it'll be cool to keep it secret. Now, like the can of beans got open, or I spilt the beans before, so I'm just like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just gonna keep saying it now. But you can all act super surprised when I tweet it out on April 4th. Yeah, I'm gonna be starting at Netlify April 4th. I'm gonna be working on the ecosystems team as a staff engineer. So it's kind of cool. I'm gonna be working on all kinds of things. You know, so the Netlify plugin. So like for example, getting stuff like, you know, Next.js. They have the build plugins. There's a few others. I have a feeling I might end up even working on 11D. I'll be working on like the way it's been kind of explained, and is like we basically want everything to run super well at Netlify. So, you know, it could mean like I'm making contributions to like Svelte or Redwood, which I know you're a part of, Anthony, and stuff. The goal is really just make things work seamlessly on Netlify. So yeah, I'm joining the ecosystem team, so I'm pretty psyched. And I won't lie, I don't feel too bad that they sent me a M1 MacBook because it's like super, super fast. It's awesome. Anyways, yeah, so let's get back to it. So I'm gonna work on this Deepgram browser extension. So let's just go to there. And I'm gonna do a few things here. I'm gonna do npm init. Oops, I should have said npm init -y, but I didn't. So let's just do all the defaults and yeet yeet. Yes, this is okay. All right, now we're gonna do git init. Cool. And one thing, I do this all the time now, but there's still some folks who aren't aware of it, so I just want to show it in case people aren't aware. If you run npx git ignore and you choose your language, so I'm going to say Node, it's going to generate a git ignore for you for Node.js, and this is kind of nice to have right out of the gate. So I'm just going to open up the project now. If I go back into dev here, Deepgram extension. Okay, cool. Let's open that. So not much going on here yet, but the npx git ignore saying Node just generates this for you right away, and you can add stuff to it, but it's just nice to have this out of the box. The other thing I want to do is let's create a .prettier RC file. Cool, yeah. And just to show you too, Anthony, for if you run npx git ignore and you don't specify a language like Node, for example, I'm going to press enter here, and it's going to give you available project be found. Maybe something changed, but if you run, it used to do, if we do npx git ignore, it would let you choose the language. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe the API changed, but for example, if I just do, let's just delete my git ignore for a second. And let's do like npx, let's say it's going to do the same thing, and then boom, you've got a Python git ignore file. So I find this super handy, and it's one of the first things I always do in a project now. I'm still thinking about creating like a boilerplate project that adds this, adds like, all the other stuff like prettier, husky, and what's the other lint stage and all that, because it's something I do pretty often if I'm creating a project. So anyways, let me rimwrap this again, and let's do, whoops, let's go node. Okay, cool. All right, so I got my git ignore back, and it's the node version 1 now. Cool. And I can't remember if netlify is in there. No, it isn't. Okay, so I'm going to add netlify in there too. I don't think this will be deploying to netlify because it's a browser extension, but you never know. Cool. All right, let's save that. Okay, so I got my git ignore. Yeah, so I want to add my prettier RC. I've got GitHub Copilot, so I feel like it might give me something here. No? Okay. Let's do, what's the default prettier? Prettier RC. You know what? I'm just going to grab it from my other project. Or what was it that I had it? I'm trying to remember what the configuration I had was. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to grab the one from dev.to, from forum, because I created that one, so I'm just going to copy that one. Oh, interesting. It's not doing my... I'm lazy. I always do forum/forum, and then it finds the GitHub repo. Okay, so if I do other stuff, in case folks don't know, if you press the letter T in GitHub, you get file search right away. So if I type in prettier now, it's going to find it. So let's get this. Okay. And maybe I'll just change this to .prettier_rc_json. Yeah. Let's do .json. Okay, cool. Now, adding the .prettier_rc_json, if you have prettier in your project, it will apply that. I'm not getting too complicated right now though. So for example, if I do let's create a new file. So let's just say like code src index.js or something. Okay, and then let's save that, and let's just say const. I just want to see the prettier kicks in. It should, because I have the prettier extension for VS Code. So typically, long term, I would add prettier to the project so it just runs it, because I have it part of the CI/CD pipeline and stuff too. But let's just do this here, and then let's like make it unformatted weird on purpose. And there you go, prettier kicks in. So just by having a prettier configuration in there, if you have if I do shortcuts here in VS Code, if I do Command-Shift-X, I'll get the extensions. And if I type prettier, you're going to see I have the prettier code formatter installed. Just having that and a prettier configuration will just automatically run prettier. So that's like, if ever you're doing demos or like a quick live coding session and you just don't want to set all that stuff up, or you just didn't have time to, like from a boilerplate, just add the prettier RC JSON file and you're all good. Or whichever one you use. There's like .prettierrc, .prettierrc.json. I think there might be a JS one too, config. But anyways, cool. Let's do that, and let's go back to here. It's been a while since I created an extension, so let's just go through the README of getting started. So this is the manifest. And before I get to all that, so you can build out an extension. You're like, well, how do I test it? The way you do that it's the same thing in Firefox. It's just called something different. I can load that up. But if we go to extension, manage extensions, sorry. I'm in Microsoft Edge right now, but you can also see this in Chrome too. It's just I've been enjoying Microsoft Edge better. Okay, so there's this developer mode, and then you're gonna see this here. There's this load unpacked. If you click load unpacked, this is where you can point to a folder, and then you can just load up the browser extension for development. And so we'll get to that eventually, but for now, let's just gotta drink some water. Been talking too much today. Okay, good. My closed captioning still working. Okay, yeah. So let's go back to the start here. So we need a manifest. So let's just copy that. It's not the exact one. So let's come back here. So let's do code src manifest.json. Let's save that. And I'm not going to worry about permissions right now. And I'm not going to worry about this. Okay, Copilot, talk to me. There we go. Okay, thank you, GitHub Copilot. So, like I was telling you before, the browser extension that I did, which appears to be broken because the Twitter app's code has changed, you can specify a specific URL, or you can say just all of them. Typically, if you're writing an extension that's going to be targeted for like certain sites or like one specific site, it just makes sense to specify that URL that it's going to hit. And the reason being is the browser extension will actually run on all these sites, so it's extra JS. And I don't know, for folks that do web development, this has happened to me so many times in the past. People report issues, and you're like, okay, you're trying to debug it, and then it's like, oh, wait a sec. So if you have an issue template and you're doing a web development project, always add one of the things when they log an issue to say, like in your template, say, try this without browser extensions enabled, and if you can still replicate it, then it's potentially something in the code base. But if it's a browser extension that's causing the issue, you can rule it out there. Obviously, you don't want to tell people they can't use their browser extension, but if it's clearly messing up your site, there's not really much you can do aside from letting them know that that's really the case. Because the way browser extensions work is it literally runs arbitrary code on your site, and the browser extension actually has access to the DOM and stuff. It's not like it can't access stuff in the DOM of your page. So for example, like when I worked at McAfee, I worked on their browser extension for password management. And so, whether you use like 1Password or LastPass, whenever you focus on an input or you tab into one, you'll see like a little icon. So like in 1Password, it's this little blue lock icon, I think. That's the browser extension that is essentially hijacking your page. It's finding it. The way they work is it looks for the password input. So this is also another reason to make sure you have a password field on your page if you actually have a password, because one, you don't want to be showing people their passwords in plain text, but also a lot of these extensions, like password management extensions, they look for a password input, and that's how they're able to detect it. And then basically as you go through sites, it goes, okay, I remember they were on twitter.com, and if you go to the login page, this is essentially like the selector to find that password field and also the username field. So all that to say is, though, the browser extension is hijacking things, and it adds this kind of layer on top. So you see that little icon to allow you to pick your passwords. It applies styles potentially. So anyways, that is essentially how browser extensions work. So we're going to come back here, and I'm just gonna say in here, what did I call my file? Index.js. Let's call it content.js actually. So if I come back here, content.js, and yeah, okay, so there's that. All URLs. Okay, no trailing comma, sure. All right, so that's the manifest, and we have a content script. At this point, we literally have a functioning browser extension. So I'm gonna do the classic alert or something, and say extension enabled. Cool, cool. All right, now this is where I'm gonna show you how you can actually get your browser extension working. So literally, the way this browser extension is going to work based on what we've described in the manifest here is any site we go to, it's going to load and it's going to just say alert extension enabled. So let's come over to here. And this is what I was saying about the extension. So again, if you missed it, in Microsoft Edge at least, you go into manage extensions and then you go developer mode, you turn it on, and you say load unpacked. And then from here, let's go to Deepgram extension. I'm just going to go to the source folder and I'm going to say select. If you don't have a manifest file, it's going to complain or it might not even let you select the folder. So I'm going to select this now. And if I scroll down, here's the getting started example. This is my extension here now. Down here. Let me zoom this in because that's actually a web page too, so folks can see that. Okay, so now I'm on GitHub, for example. I'm going to refresh the page. If I did everything right, it should say alert. There we go, extension enabled. So that is all you need to do to actually get a browser extension running. Obviously, this is really not feature rich at the moment, but there's other things you can do. And I'll show you what I meant about, like, for example, hijacking your page. So if I go back to the GitHub page, actually, let's see this button, inspect, data permalink, blah, blah, blah. Okay, ID raw URL. I'm just gonna grab that and use that as an example. So let's do, okay, document get element, not elk. We're not working with any kind of, not livestock, what do you call like elks and deer and stuff? It's escaping me at the moment. But if we say raw URL and we'll say const raw button, or I think it's a link, but let's say raw link. Okay, and just friendly reminder for accessibility purposes, a link goes somewhere, a button does something. Okay, so now I've got this access to this raw link. Other things to know, this is running once the page is loaded, so I don't have to worry about like the DOM content loaded or anything. So I'm going to say raw link dot, let's go inner text equals, let's go plus equals, and I'm going to save that. And let's come back here. Now I'm going to refresh the page and what we changed is not going to happen. And you're going to go, why is it still saying alert? The reason being is once the extension is loaded, it's loaded for the lifetime until you disable it or re-enable it. So this is kind of annoying when you're doing development. There is an extension to kind of hot reload the extension. I have to find it again, but if we come back down here to the getting started, all the extensions, if I zoom this in a bit more, if you click reload, it reloads the extension. So now when I come here, I'm going to expect that it doesn't show the alert, hello, whatever. You're going to see the raw button and it's going to say hacked raw, or it should, unless there's an error. Okay, looks like I didn't do something correctly. Let's open up the dev tools. I'm going to zoom these in too. And there's a sources panel. I've talked about this before in a couple, did a lunch and learn on this. Let me find that, I'll drop that, but And developer.com talks. I talk about it here. I'll drop that in the chat. And there's another talk I did. Debugging JavaScript. Those are just some tools there if you want to check those out. But what we do here now is, okay, there's sources. So like all of a sudden you can see here's my extension. And for some reason I'm not seeing my, no, that's the Ali Twitter one, sorry. File system, overrides, where is it? Oh yeah, content scripts. So typically when you're debugging in the browser, like you would just look for a file. So like, for example, if I go to dev.to, open up browser tools, I wrote this component, so I know it's there. So if I just look for, and just like VS Code or whatever editor you're using, if you do Command P or Control P, if you're on Windows or Linux, you can just type in and you get the omnibar there and you can find something. So like comment, subscription, okay, whatever. I'll just grab this one. But basically it loads up the code in here and you can debug things. So like I can put a breakpoint and then of course nothing is working right now because it's a demo. Okay, there's a breakpoint, sure. Or what about this one? What's going on here maybe? Okay, so now if I refresh it, you're gonna see the browser stops and I can debug things. I'm not gonna bother debugging in here, but I just want to show you, like, you go into the sources panel and then all of a sudden you can add breakpoints and you can start debugging code. You can do the same thing with a browser extension. So the only difference is you have all these things here. Like by default, it shows up here on the left in this panel when you're in the sources. But if you click on the two arrows, depending on your screen size, maybe it shows up right away. But there's another one called content scripts. And then in here, you're going to see a list of all the browser extensions you have installed. And here's mine, which is called Getting Started example because I didn't change it. And boom, okay, we can already see it reported a JavaScript error. But what's interesting here now is I'm loading a page, stops. I'm in the browser extension source code now. So that's kind of neat. So the first issue I'm going to look at is, okay, raw link is null. So I clearly got the wrong one, and this is null. So that's why it's going to explode. So I'm just going to let that continue. Okay, so now let me look at this again. I'm going to inspect, and ID is raw-URL. That seems right. Oh, you know what it is? I think it's, yeah, that's ID raw-URL. Let me check in the code. Let me enable word wrap. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's me doing a copy pasta error. So I had a parentheses in there. So let's come back here. I've made the change. And if we come back here, I'm gonna reload it. It's gonna hit the breakpoint again. Okay, you can still see that my error. So I'm gonna let that run. So again, like I mentioned, you need to come back here. You find your browser extension and you say reload. And this only works if you see, if you look at the other ones here, there's only details and remove. The reason being is because this one, I have the developer mode enabled so I can see errors that happened. And if I go back, of course, I lost it. Okay, getting started example. I'm going to say reload. So it reloads the code now. And I will find that extension that does the reloading. But there's other things you can do. Like you're not like right now I'm showing an example with HTML and JavaScript, keeping it fairly plain. Okay, there I've got my raw link now. Let me just run this just to show you. It's going to say the raw button's been hacked now. So this is just a tiny example to show you, like, this is how a browser extension works for the most part. So this is how extensions enhance things. So like, for example, Gitpod, for example. I'm not sure why it's not showing here, but I have the Gitpod extension and it adds a button that says, oh yeah, wait, I got to go to the root of the project. You see this Gitpod extension, this button here? That's not part of GitHub. that's a browser extension that injects that into the GitHub page when that extension is enabled. So yeah, just be mindful of that. So it also depends when you load things, because you can literally slow down you could bring a site to a grinding halt with a browser extension. And again, like I mentioned previously, if you do web development and you're maintaining a project, or even like, it doesn't even have to be open source, even if it's closed source, whenever people open up issues, they're like, the website's not working, make sure there's a step in there that says, ensure that the error, ensure you run it with browser extensions disabled first before confirming it's an actual issue. Because I've seen it happen before, including well-known extensions. I can't remember what the issue was, but it was like 7 years ago. But the Adobe PDF extension was, I was working on Microsoft products at that point, so I was working on a SharePoint site, which that is the last thing I would want to do these days. But there was issues on the site, and it came down to this Adobe PDF plugin or extension. I really don't remember what the issue is, but basically you disabled it, and then all of a sudden everything was working fine. So just be mindful of that when you have issues, because you don't want to be basically spending days trying to figure something out only to realize, oh, it's because of that browser extension. All right, so like I said, we've got this extension running now. So if I reload it again, just for fun, if I go back to that page and reload, boom, you see it says hacked and stuff. And this is how you get stuff like if you go to 1Password, for example. So if I go to, let's see, I'm trying to think of a site I'm not logged into. Okay, I go to dev.to, sign out. Okay, so if I go login and I click in here, you see that little blue icon there? That's the extension from 1Password, and it's doing essentially what I just showed you. It's injecting HTML and JavaScript into the DOM and essentially hijacking things. One thing to take note of, and this is probably not so much an issue now if you use stuff like CSS modules and so on, but prior to that stuff, a lot of times you had to use inline style when building a browser extension because you wanted to make sure your style always won at the end of the day, and even using important, because what would happen sometimes is the actual site would override yours that you do. Forget extensions, Triple B says, can bring Chrome to grinding out by itself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let me open up 2 more tabs and this stream will be over. Cool. Anyways, thanks for popping by. Bald bearded builder. It's so hard to say. I just got to stick with Triple B. All right, let me log back into dev.to here. Okay, cool. Yeah, like I said, I'm working. This is literally like early days for me starting on this, but if you're interested in the hackathon, I dropped this before. I'll drop it in the chat again. So my idea again is to have a browser extension, come to this page, and I could do something, or I don't even have to be on this page. I could, as soon as I'm on dev, I could say something like new blog post, and the speech API, I'm not sure if that's what you call it. Sorry, the Deepgram SDK could hear my command. So I'm saying like create a new blog post, and I could say title, and then it would give focus here, and then I would say something like write something, and then it would give me this transcribed text, and then I would inject it into the DOM, something like that, and so on. And I could add tags, and then I could say like save draft. I'll see how far I get, but I think I'm gonna focus on this idea. So if we come back to here, there's not much going on here right now. This is pretty rudimentary example. So I'm gonna delete this. Let me clear it here. Let's close the side. Let's zoom this in one more time. Okay, I'm gonna do npm install parcel, and I'm gonna create a index file. Ooh. Just give it a sec here. Gonna drink some water because my throat is kind of scratchy. And I'm spilling water everywhere. I'm not sick or anything, just I don't know. I was talking a lot today. All right. That's all good. Okay, so I got that installed. So if we come back here, you can see in my package.json, close that. I've got parcel, and that's it. And then I believe the command here is just, oops, let's just do dev. I'll say parcel, and thank you, whatchamacallit, GitHub Copilot, source index.html. I don't think I need all that other stuff right now. That should be good. And so that'll start parcel when I run npm run dev. And if I come over here, I don't have my index.html file yet, so let's do code source index.html. Okay, now for those who might be new to VS Code, it comes with Emmet installed. So if I do !tab, it injects just a HTML document for you to get started. The other thing we need here is device width. Is that right? I think it's supposed to be, it's just one. I can't remember. I'm just going to leave that for now. So we need to add a source tag for parcel. You have to say type equals module, src equals content.js. That's right. Okay, that should be good. And if I come back here and just go, I have an alias, just nr for npm run, and I'm going to say dev. That should start parcel. And if I go to that, is it running? Oh yeah, it is running. I just got nothing in it. So if I do, sure, h1 hello world. Okay, yeah. So parcel's running. That's all good. And I'm trying to remember how I did this in the past, but essentially, oh yeah, that's what I have to do. It's the outdoor. I do need the outdoor in the npm package.json. So the reason why I want that is because if you look in the manifest, it's looking for files to reference. And even if I'm hot reloading in parcel, you want these things to be like in a certain place. So let me do that. If I come back to package.json, what is it? Come on, GitHub Copilot, kick in and help me out, guide me there. Maybe I'll go back a bit. Parcel. All right, it's like GitHub Copilot doesn't want to give me it. Ah, there we go. Okay, so outdoor DST. No, I want hot module. No, remove all that. I want the outdoor, and then that should be good. Public URL. Yeah, that's okay. We can keep that. Let me save that. Let me stop this again. Let's run that again. If I open up another terminal here. Oh, thanks for the follow, Sandra. Long time no see. Okay, so now if I do here, do I have my src folder? Is it not running? Hold on a sec. Yeah, sorry. And dev unknown option outdoor. Okay. I haven't used parcel in a while, and I never really used it that much to begin with. So parcel outdoor. Let's zoom this in. Okay, so parcel 2, which is what I think they're currently at. Migration docs. Looks like it's Dist.dir, but let's go Dist. Parcel build index Dist.dir ww. Okay, so that's what we want. Index.html Dist.dir. Let's try that. Okay, we just want Dist.dir, and then let's make it a folder. I guess Dist is okay, but let's do, since I'm there, let's put it in extension. And that's there. Okay, let's start this up again. And when I run this, hopefully this runs now. Okay, so it's running. And if I open up another terminal here, and then just bring this over, ls. Okay, I got a dist folder, so now if I go there, ls, okay, there's all of it's there. I don't know why it didn't create the extension folder, but that's fine. Okay, let's exit there. So I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do here. Let's stop this. Let's bring this down. So the idea is we want some generated folder, and that's what the extension, even though we're loading it unpacked, is gonna read from. It will get updated as we're developing with the hot reloading, the hot module reloading with parcel. But I'm curious why it didn't do this for extension. But anyways, we'll just use dist for now. And let me just run that again to see. So rimraf dist. Let's run it again. Error option dist. Oh no, it's saying it is missing an argument. So why didn't it find it? Extension. Let's try that again. Okay, so that is running fine. Where's my extension folder though? I don't understand why it's not creating an extension folder, but let's see here. Let me read this document again. Outer, dister, to align outer. Okay. Maybe it's only when you build it. Yeah, maybe that's it. Let me try that. Okay. So let's get rid of this. Let's start up the dev server again. Let me make sure that there's nothing here. Okay. I'm basically looking for ls, package lock, JSON, node modules, src folder. Okay, that's all the folders I was hoping for. Let's start up the dev server again. And now if I do an ls again, okay, I've got a dist folder. Okay, I'll worry about creating an extension folder later, but for now I have the dist folder if I want to use it. So that's good. That's good enough for me. So now what we're going to do is you have to come back into the manifest.json file. And in here, that should all still stay the same actually. We need to copy the manifest to the dist folder. So let's do this. Let's come back to our package.json and we'll say ampersand make dir not copy src manifest JSON, and let's do that. Or actually, I think I can even, can I just copy that like that? I think if I pass both the parcel, actually, it will just copy them both over. If I run that, and let's check in that folder now. So let me get a bit more space here so folks can see. Should have my dist folder if I go to dist, ls. Okay, I got created manifest.js, which is not what I want. So, okay. So I do need to copy it over. So that's okay. Come back here. And we're just going to say ampersand. We're going to say copy to dist manifest.json. And if I start this up again, and I look in cd dist ls, I've got my manifest.json file there now. So that's good. Cool, cool. So let's exit that. And now if I come and reload the browser extension, so if we come back to here, say reload, I don't have any errors. That's from before, I think. Let's try that again. Reload. Yeah, so no errors. Okay, so now let's come back here. I'm gonna reload it. It should say raw hacked. Okay, it did. So let's see what's going on. It's probably just some files not copying. Content.js. Let's see here. Getting started example. Content.js is empty. Okay. So let's see what's up with that. Okay, let's do cd dist ls Deepgram extension manifest. Oh, okay. So it's naming my, okay, it's calling it Deepgram dash extension. Okay. All right, so let's do that. And this is only because I need to reference it now. So let's come here. That has to stay like that. It's the manifest where, I'm trying to remember if I can do wildcard here. If I do deepgram star.js, let me check that out. Manifest.json. What time is it? Well, I gotta go shortly. Manifest.json content script glob. Let's see. I'm sure you can add more than one file type. Hold on. Manifest. No, that's not what I want. Manifest 3. No, let's check this one more time. Yeah, content script. So JS Fortify. I feel like you can do a glob. Exclude globs, JS query. Here, let me zoom this in, sorry. Oh yeah, hey. Yeah, I'm just starting getting a browser extension set up, and to do the browser extension I was thinking of doing for the Deepgram Hackathon. So right now, just to explain, I'm using Parcel to just so I get hot reloading and I can build things out. You can use this in the browser extension. There's a manifest.json file which tells the browser extension where to look for things. And originally I had index.js here or content.js, but when I'm doing development, it generates a new file all the time. So I'm just seeing how I can handle this better. I think this might work. I'm not sure. Let's try it. If I come to Edge, manage extension, reload. Okay, yeah, it can't load it that way. Okay, so it's not that. Maybe it's this star.js. I have a feeling it's not gonna like this. Turn that on. Hey, why did you remove? Oh, sorry. That actually might work. It's because the folder changed, so I have to remove this. So like I said, I'm in developer mode, so you need to load an unpacked extension. And that's there. Okay, that's not what we want. We want to get, I guess I need to start up the dev server again. So let's do this. Get out of cd dist, clear, npm run, dev. Okay, and now I should have a folder here. Let's open that. Okay, no, it doesn't like that. Okay. Basically, I'm trying to load a glob. I can't remember. Let's just try this. Start.js. I think that's good. And let's come back here. Oh, I couldn't even load it. So let's try again. Select. Okay, no, it doesn't load that. Let's see. Manifest, browser extension, load glob. An array of paths relative to there. Yeah, okay, this is what I want to check. You can't do that. You need to explicitly list all the scripts. Okay. That's fine, I guess. All right. Well, I think we're going to stop here anyways because I actually have to get going. But just to recap before I go, just started working on a browser extension that I'm going to use for the Deepgram Hackathon. Idea is to be able to dictate a blog post on dev.to. So that's pretty much it. Thanks everybody who popped by today. Thanks for the shaky start I had here, just getting my stuff set up again because I hadn't streamed on my own stream for a while. So thanks again, everybody, and we will see you next week.